servicing the Trike. So fresh engine oil, fresh primary oil, fresh transmission oil, check the primary chain tension, new spark plugs, grease the back axle, just general check on it. In here there, it's ticking over, just warming it up, ready to drain the oils out of it. So give it another couple of minutes and then I'll start draining oil, so I'll come back then. Right, it's warmed up, so I'm now going to drain I'm going to drain all the oils straight away, but I'm going to start with the engine oil. Now, with this being originally a softail, and you have your oil tank, the drain plug's just under here, and it's a tube, pipe that comes down from the oil tank. So I'll undo that one first. And the way I've positioned myself is I'm going to try and not burn myself on the exhaust. Right, so that's coming out. What I'll do is I'll pull the plug on the tank, which that makes it come out a lot quicker. Just grab a rag and clean up the plug and have a look and see if there's out stuck on it. I don't know how well you'll see this, I'll get that into the camera view somewhere. That's basically just remnants of oil, there's no major sticking to it, so that's always a good sign. So that's cool. Just let that drain for a while. I'm just currently looking for the best position to get myself under for taking the gearbox plug out without burning myself on the exhaust. The only downside, well, it's not a downside, it's just a bit more of a pain, is the drain plug for the gearbox is in between the shocks. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock you off for a little while, let this engine oil drain for a little bit, then I'm going to drain the gearbox oil, which you won't be able to see anything anyways, but when I'm going to do the primary oil I'll come back. Right, I've done, I've drained the engine oil and the transmission oil, and what I'll just show you is, as you can see there, there's room for an Allen key in the end of that. Now the size of the Allen key on these is 1/4 inch, but if you want you can use a socket or a spanner, which is 5/8. But we're now going to do the primary. Now the gearbox and the engine oil plugs are identical, so they're both the same size, but the primary is different. It's a different size and it's an Allen key only. So as I've stated, the transmission drain plug is up between your two shocks on the softail, and the primary one is a 3/16, and it's here and it's straight down. So if anyone watched the videos on my 2005 Electroglide, the drain plug for instance is on straight on. That way you take the plug out this way and the oil just drains out. So there is differences on certain models. So I'm just going to get in, move that so I can get in at it. I'm going to get it loose enough, which sounds about there. I'll just pull that back, go in with my hand, try and keep the head out the way. Just keep out of that so it can fall off. Right. There's a little bit of gunge on the end of there, but not worth worrying about. So I'll let that drain, and while that drains, I'll knock you off while that drains. But what I'm going to do is I'll get set up down here, at the front of the bike, and we'll get this oil filter taken off. So I'll knock you off for now, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Right, now because of the way they've got the oil lines routed on this thing, I have to take the oil cooler off. Now when I say I have to take it off, I don't mean physically undo the pipes and everything. I just have to take the brackets off and pull the actual oil cooler out of the way. Then that allows me to get my tool on the end of the oil cooler, and right, something just fell off there, I'm fucking sure of it. Unless it actually screws into there. Can't see what I'm doing at the minute because I'm on the wrong side. No, it didn't screw into there. So I think the bolts fell off. Nut, sorry. Yeah, so I undo these two clamps and then manoeuvre the oil cooler out the way. Which then allows me to, as I say, get the tool on the end of the oil filter and drop the oil filter off. What I might do at some point is put some new oil pipe on it and oh no, the nut's still in the end of that. Couldn't see it first. Right, so move that bracket out of the way, push the oil lines up, pull that bracket back down. This is a proper pain in the arse, like. Right, so that's the oil cooler shifted enough that I can get my tool on it. Now, before I continue any further, I'm going to lay some oil soaks on the floor, because regardless to how much I try, I cannot stop the oil going on the floor. So, chuck a couple oil soaks down underneath, and I'll tear one and fold it up. And shove it in there. Now, as I've already said, it doesn't matter how hard I try, this fucker always leaks onto the floor. So now that's done, I'll grab my giant socket, that's what you want to call it. The right size fitting for it, which is in the other toolbox. You can see from that, so you can see. So I'm going to put this tool on the end of the oil filter and basically wind the oil filter off. That wasn't very tight, and there she goes. Out a bit. I'm just moving my that's a pain in the ass. At least that oil soak caught a lot of it. Yeah, and I've got also, I'm gonna knock you off in a minute, because I want to have a right proper good look in here, because I'm pretty sure that I have actually got an oil leak. Not a big oil leak, just every now and then I've noticed just a one-off, there's a little tiny drip. And I think it might be coming off this filter, sorry, the take-off for the oil cooler. So I'm going to have a good nosy in there. I'm just going to let it drip for a while first though. So what I'll do is I'll knock you off for now, and I'll come back when we start doing some more. Right, I've cleaned up in here, had an investigation as to whether or not I did actually have an oil leak, which I did. I knew I had because there was drips on the bottom. Now, you can see, In the back of there, you've got your where your oil pipes come on off the adapter plate. Now the original ones, as you can see, pretty knackered really. That one up against the frame and the oil filter itself, it's actually indented in that bit there where it's been sitting against the oil filter. And as you saw in the earlier clip, I had to take the oil cooler off just to get the oil filter off. So what I've done is basically I've got like reels of braided hose in, so I found some that's the right size, and I've rerouted the oil lines. Before I did that though, I checked everything in here, took these ends out where the pipe goes onto, cleaned them up and resealed them, if you know what I mean. But then I put these new braided hoses on, and I've brought them out and down. One comes, like, does a loop and comes round into there, and the other one goes across and it's fastened on securely underneath. Comes back up here and into the oil cooler. But what it means is I can actually get the oil filter on and off without actually having to touch the oil filter. So with that done, everything needs a fucking wipe over now, because as I say, I've been giving it a clean as well, but just the residue to clean up. I just need that fucking screwdriver done there. I need the pipes to stay together. I haven't got any proper pipe clamps, so I've just stuck these together with a cable tie. And they seem to be pulling around on there. Not that it's an issue, I mean, it's not catching on anything, it's all out of the way. So, but yeah, as I say, it means that I can now put my oil filter on and take it off without actually having to take the oil cooler off. So what I'm going to do now is I'll put the oil filter on. Now it's an AMSOIL oil filter. This is the one that I originally bought for this, to service this bike. I think I said in an earlier video, now I don't know if it was on the Trike or whether it was on one of the other bikes, when you buy an AMSOIL filter, it comes with a new O-ring for your drain plug. So, and those who have watched my videos will know that I whine on about people not replacing O-rings on the filler plugs, on the drain plugs, sorry. Does my fucking head in. So I'll just grab some engine oil. Needless to say, I'm using AMSOIL. I'll just run an oil bit for this oil filter. Just a new chrome oil filter. Just a little bit of oil on my fingertip. Just round there, end of the seal. Now I need a bit of rag. Right, so as you can see there, the oil filter, the oil cooler is in place, and I can just wind the oil filter on Right, so you get it so it's hand tight, as in it's touched its seal, and then basically half in tools, half to 3/4 of a turn, nip it up. See, the good thing is I can now put my tools on. That's tight as that needs to be. But I can, as I say, I can put my tools on now without the oil lines in the way. And the oil lines aren't actually touching, and because the way, if you I don't know how well I actually had it set up in the wrong side actually for seeing it, but basically the old ones came out of here and wrapped around the front edge of the oil filter and then came up into the cooler, and that's why I had to take the cooler off to get the filter off, and now that is no more. I'll get in there and clean that up properly later. So next step, which I'll just do off camera, is when I fill it up. But first, get the drain plug, and we'll fit the new O-ring on it. Get my fucking fingernails in it. Right, so that's the old O-ring off. A rag just to clean that up. And looking at that's once had PTFE in it. Right, so there's the drain plug. We've cleaned up with no O-ring on it. We'll take the O-ring off the box and just fit that in place. Just roll it down and then give it a twist and just make sure it's not twisted up on itself. And now what I'll do off camera is I'm going to put, because the oil's been dripping for ages, it's going to be okay to put all the drain plugs back in, because I've been messing on with this, getting this oil cooler sorted. As I say, what I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to put a new O-ring on the tranny seal, sorry, drain plug. I'll fit the drain plugs, and I'll also fit the drain plug on the primary. Once that's done, before I fill it up with oil, I'm going to take the inspection covers off on the primary, which I'll switch it back on when I come to do that. I'm going to check the primary chain tension, and I'm going to reset the clutch. So, and we'll go from there. So I'll be back soon. Just a quickie, I forgot to mention. When I was on about, I took the bits out where the pipes go on, the oil hose where it pushes on. When I took them out to reseal them, that's where it was leaking. It was either one of them was leaking through the threads, or, and this is the one I think it was more likely, the hose was actually leaking, because on, where the fuck's the hose gone? The clip, Jubilee clip on the end, it's if it's been over tightened and it had like bent the bit, so when you turn it to tighten it, it just clipped and went loose again. So that bit of pipe was actually loose on the end in there, and I think that's where it was leaking from. So just thought I'd let you know that. Back soon. Right, I'll take these inspection covers off. So I've put the drain plugs back in for the engine and transmission, but I haven't put it back in for the primary. I'll do that, because if anything comes off when I'm starting to play with the clutch, you know, I don't want to, if I remember right, that was a dodgy one. I don't want it to stay in the primary, I'd rather it come out. What I've also already done is I've adjusted the clutch cable so that it's at its maximum slack. Right, so what I need now is the right size spanner. Find it. Right, I'm just going to knock you off for a sec, I'll be back in a minute. Got my spanner. It was exactly where it should have been, just couldn't see it for looking at it. Now it's the usual thing with the clutch, just wind it in all the way until it just touches. And then once it touches, just half to 3/4 back out, and then lock it back in place. So that's the clutch adjusted, but I need to have a look at the primary now. So, just lift the links up and see what the wear's like in here. It's not too bad actually. And now I need a ruler. I also need to move some stuff. Oh. I'm just going to lay down in front of it here so that I can see, and hopefully you still can. Get stuck on a link. Bent my ruler the wrong way. Make sure you can still see. So I'm just getting this so it touches up on the link, then seeing where it is and then pushing it straight up. So we're on that mark there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, now bear in mind this engine's cold again now from when I had it running earlier in the day. I've just noticed as well on the rotor. Oh, keep the camera to fuck. Just noticed on the rotor in there, it's high output. I don't know why that would have a high output on it, because I always thought that high output ones were on like the Road Kings electric glides and stuff. So the primary chain is spot on, doesn't need adjusted. The clutch has just been adjusted, as you saw, and all I need to do now is adjust the free play in the cable, sorry, take up the adjustment in the cable, so that there's about 1/8 of free play at the lever. So one thing I do need to do is get my oils out, and like all of them, and start filling this up. For instance, I need to ratchet some new gaskets out as well. Right, I'll knock you off for now, get my stuff together, and then I'll come back.